friends, and welcome back to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. And my name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hi, Levi.
That was a new tagline, Jen.
It was new. We spent a lot of time working on that. It's really hard, guys.
After doing our first batch of episodes, and as we're hopping over to Limsa now, we think this is probably better reflective of how the first set of episodes has panned out. It's a more accurate portrayal of our subject content.
Yeah, basically we're doing a playthrough and doing a little bit more in-depth examination of the story as we work our way through it.
Yeah, it's hard. I was expecting there to be a lot more lore diving earlier on, but there are like dry periods where there's nothing to talk about. We can't have every episode be on point for the lore content. Like this time here, going into Limsa, we're going to be hitting the history and the background and the present day of Limsa pretty hard, which is not stuff that the game gives to you straight up in the story of the game. However, next episode about Limsa is going to be more running around, doing questing, so on. Less meat, more filler, I guess.
Meat, more potatoes?
Sure.
Okay.
Love it. So anyway, the lore content is going to vary from episode to episode, and we don't want to misrepresent our shiz here. As previewed, today we're talking about Limsa Lominsa. We have begun a brand new journey into this city. We both made new characters to start out in Limsa's story.
I had never started in Limsa Lominsa, so it was nice to approach Limsa as a new adventurer and then get a better feel for a new adventurer's perspective on the city-state.
Limsa is where the Arcanist and Marauder characters begin the game, and you can hop on the Rogue train after 10 levels if you're so inclined.
Really? Only 10?
Yes, it's the first new class added to the game, so they make you jump through a few hoops before you can unlock that class. We'll get more to that. I don't want to burn Pod on the Rogue podcast, but there are a couple good reasons for that slight delay, in my opinion.
Okay, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We'll shank that knave.
I couldn't think of something right on the about that right away.
Well, spoilers, the Rogue quest is full of incomprehensible jargon.
Great.
It's something else or something.
I've never done it, so now I'm excited. But hey, we'll cross that bridge. Limsa has a ton of bridges, so there you go.
Nice tie-in.
Yeah.
Who are you playing this time, Jen?
I've decided to finally hop on the old Viera bandwagon, and I've created a lady Viera named Rex Manningway, and she's gorgeous, and I love her, and I want to play her forever. I started her as a Marauder, and so far I'm having a great time.
I have made a Rogaiden, a Hellsguard Rogaiden, named Bismuth End. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jen, for helping me figure out a pun name there. I was trying very hard to find a marriage between the canonical naming convention for Rogaidens and a pun. I now have Bismuth End, the Marauder. I'll give you the bismuth end of my axe, Jen.
There's the joke. There it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for explaining the joke. Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Before we talk about the start of our journeys, let's talk about Limsa for a bit. Limsa is one of the 3 city-states in Eorzea where you can start the game. Unlike the other 2, Limsa is located off the mainland continent of Eorzea. Specifically, it is in the Lanoshian region of the Vilbrand subcontinent in the Rotano Sea, to the southwest of the main continent.
Okay, if I could get a chart, that would be really helpful.
Long story short, it's on an island southwest of the main continent.
There you go. Lots of water.
That's it. Lanosia is a great grassy region with open landscapes and constant ocean views. It's a very attractive region.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I love like these kind of, it's like the cliffs of Dover, where these are like sun-bleached, salt-bleached, like white cliffs and deep greens and blues and rolling hills and beautiful rock formations. I don't know what type of rock it is, but it's white and it's very pretty. And they've incorporated the stone into their structures, and there's almost like a seamless blend of the two. And of course, the Limsa Lominsa and some of the surrounding settlements are very vertical. This is like a Z-axis heavy area, which is a pain in the ass to navigate when you're new.
It's true.
Ugh.
I think it's probably the hardest to get around because you can't tell if it's above or below.
Oh my God.
And thankfully, the city has two main zones to it. One zone is lower, one zone is upper. So you can usually tell if you need to go down or up, and you can teleport there through the city if you want to. But sometimes it's still hard. Like if you're trying to do quests in the city, there'll be like map markers that are below you, and you've got to figure out how to get down there. And if you don't know your way around, or you don't have all the aetherytes unlocked yet, then you have to do some puzzling to figure out how to descend down.
It's very embarrassing. There was a quest that I had to pick up in the Marauders Guild. There was, I saw it on the map in the Marauders Guild. I'm like, I thought that it was glitching out for a reason.
I'm standing on the quest marker. Where's my damn
literally,
quest?
I'm looking, I'm like, I just finished talking to the guy, so I'm guessing maybe there was some sort of lag or glitch that wasn't removing the blue quest marker. I looked at the map and I saw, I got it. It's out by Summerford Farms. So I go all the way out there, and of course, I don't have a chocobo. I'm just running, and it takes forever to get out there. And it was for the missed housing quest.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, God damn it. And I look at the map again, and that little blue quest marker is still in the Marauders Guild. I'm like, I swear to God. I go back there. I go to the room. I run around every fucking corner. I look at everybody. Where?
It's below you,
It's
Jen.
below me. Fucking idiot.
So Limsa is on the very southern coast of La Nocia. It's built across all these naturally occurring rock formations and reefs. And like Jen was saying, you can see the city itself literally growing out of these rocky pillars into the cut stone of the upper structures. And some rooms here are actually still carved from the natural stone. So you'll be on like a floor made of cut stone, and then you'll look up and see just this natural cave ceiling above you.
Yeah, just the raw carved out rock. It's very
All
cool.
the rock is just so like bleached white as well, which stands out so great against the blue seas, blue sky.
It's beautiful.
And of course, when I went to go take our screenshot for our new characters, it was cloudy. It's always sunny in La Nocia, except for this one time
that
when
June gloom, man, that marine layer will get you every time.
That's fine. It's still a good shot. We got a nice fist bump in there.
Word.
So you can check our Twitter at podreturn.
There we go. If you
Little
want
promo in there.
2 pictures. We are engaging in social media somewhat reluctantly.
Anyway, back to the city though. We should underscore that these bridges that connect the spires, they are directly above the ocean. So you look down, you see just the blue water below you.
It's a little, I use the word unsettling a lot. As someone with thalassophobia, it makes me nervous. You know, and some of these platforms don't have railings, which is classic. It's fucking classic Final Fantasy XIV, huge wide platforms with no railings. You could just fall right off.
The city's flag is an obsidian longboat on a blood red background. The longboat, of course, speaks to the city's pirating founders, and the crimson represents the spilled blood of lost companions.
Rip.
Jen, do you like pirates?
I am, I guess, neutral on pirates. I've never, like, I've seen the one Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I've never been enamored by piratey lore. It's fine. It's neither here nor there for me. One, I've never really liked being on the ocean. I've never been a boat person or a ship person. And, you know, that's just not for me. I'm a desert person.
I had a period where I liked pirates as a fictional concept, as in pirates in fiction.
Yeah.
Just to clarify. I know pirates are real. But at this point in my life, I'm kind of over that. Especially anything that romanticizes crime is a bit of a stretch right now for my credulity. Thieves' Honor and Brotherhood of Pirates or so on. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. It feels like it's kind of putting a soft point on some real brutal and nasty business.
100%. Yeah. There's like a Disneyfication of that whole quote unquote profession. These people were ruthless, murdering thieves.
Kind of, it puts a very soft touch on the whole pirating city here. Not counting for the hundreds, if not thousands of lives ruined and lost and so on from their history. But now they're all cool.
They're trying. They're getting there.
The whole concept of like a pirate city doesn't do it for me. So I like Limsa. I like some of the characters here. But I just have to kind of squint past the pirating aspects of it to not be too jaded about this whole experience.
Yeah. I don't like considering it like Pirate Town, because that's not what it is. And it's doing the Admiral a disservice, you know, all the work that she's put into to redirect that ship.
Nice.
Get it? Because
I get it, because she's redirecting the city
yeah,
like a ship, and she was a captain.
Yeah.
Joke Explainer will return in a minute. I don't love the Limsa music either, honestly. I like the Lanosian area music a lot, but Limsa, I find it to be pretty boring.
It's certainly thematic. I think it sounds correct, and it's well done that way. But again, it's just like the seafaring aesthetic. It's never been like a big thing for me, so I'm like, it doesn't hit me in the soul like some of the other music does.
Anyway, enough bagging on Limsa. Now for some...
Right? We're like, it's so beautiful. And then it's 15 minutes of us having problems with the reason it exists.
So the majority population in Limsa are the sea wolf Rogaden, who we'll talk about next time because this is going to be a very lore-heavy episode.
Yeah, and I'm just going to disclaimer this. Our pronunciations of these names will be all over the place. We're going to do our best. These names are really... There are too many consonants in a row and not enough vowels. We're going to do our best.
Anyway, though, long story short, the sea wolves are generally aquatic, tone-skinned, big, beefy guys.
Yep.
The patron deity of Limsa is Limlane, the navigator. She's, of course, one of the 12 deities of Eorzea. She commands the wind and is often depicted as a fisherwoman wielding a harpoon. Her symbol is the wave. Believers in Limsa make a pilgrimage to the mark of the navigator before setting sail and on return from their journeys as a blessing, but there is actually no formal church or similar in Limsa to Limlane. It's more of like an individual worship than a communal worship. Yeah,
it's kind of a Protestant approach to your relationship with God. Your relationship with Limlane is private and personal.
Yep. The city's trades are unsurprisingly maritime. This includes shipbuilding, fishing, and shipping. Also piracy. Today in Limsa, piracy is forbidden except against imperial targets, which technically makes it more privateering than piracy.
Right. It's more like a kind of a standing, I guess, army.
I'm talking more about privateering is when a nation will allow ships to target certain enemy vessels only. So essentially they're like a freelancing navy versus the official navy.
Is that maybe counterproductive to the admiral's attempts at getting Limsa Lominsa away from piracy as a source of income or a way of life?
It's a stopgap measure. Like, one, the Empire is officially the enemy of Limsa.
Yeah.
This serves their ends and the ends of Eorzea in general.
All right. So it's like a necessary evil.
Well, not only that, but also the pirates did not take kindly towards the no more piracy law.
Of course.
So this is a bone thrown to them saying, hey, you can do piracy stuff, but only against these targets.
Okay.
We also see a lot of plots in Limsa that involve illicit piracy. With the Old Guard, who do not want to give up their old life, and they just do pirating in general. And there's a lot of friction between that group and the new establishment. Beyond the maritime trades, we also have metalworking as a large practice here in Limsa. Lanosia is very rich in minerals, though a lot of it is where the kobolds hang out. And we find both the blacksmith and armorers guilds in Limsa Lominsa.
Shipbuilding and axe building.
And of course, there's also a lot of farming. Lanosia has very rich soils, and we have vineyards here. We'll get to Wineport in a fair bit of time. It's like a level 30 plus area, I think.
That sounds correct. It's pretty late.
And finally, the culinary arts are in vogue in Limsa. Recipes and ingredients from all over the world pass through here, and the restaurant known as the Bismarck is world famous.
Sure is. It's got a hell of a view.
As do most places.
This is true.
So the present done, let's look back at the past, Jen.
Let's get up in them guts.
Limsa goes all the way back to the Sea Wolf founders, who first arrived in Eorzea as they fled from a tyrannical leader in their homeland, in the Northern Empty. There was some sort of rebellion from which only the ship Galadian survived, on the rebel side, as in the insurrectionists.
So yeah, the people escaping.
Yeah, they failed in the rebellion, then the only surviving ship escaped from their homeland carrying the future founders of Limsa.
Okay.
After a harrowing journey, she ran aground in Vilbrand.
Hey.
After confirming the region was fertile, Admiral Elevane?
Elevane?
That sounds right. Elevane Old Admiral Elevane declared that this would be their new home and dubbed the region La Nocia. This is named after a crew member that died of scurvy 2 days before they made landfall.
I mean, what a legacy. I've always wondered, just the naming conventions for most locations in the game, they all have to come from somewhere. But the etymology of La Nocia in particular, never knew. So it's some poor guy that didn't eat his oranges. Obviously, you're not going to get a lot of vitamin C from Kakirans.
Nope. I'm sure their Kakiran crew members were lying in the pot.
It's so fucked up. Anyway, this was centuries and centuries and centuries ago.
Not long after arriving, the settlers ran afoul of the local kobold tribes.
What is a kobold? They're strongly rodent-like. Definitely more so than the Kakirans.
I'd call them a cross between a squirrel and a rat.
Yeah, they have kind of a fluffy, squirrelish tail, but it's still thin.
It's like a bottle brush. It'd be like bristly to feel, I'm sure.
They have very short, fat, stubby snouts, huge ears. It's hard to get a bead on really what they look like because they're always shrouded in armor.
They're in their big helmets.
Yeah, so their faces look just like the helmet face, but you can see their whiskers and their beady little eyes. They have really long toes and fingers and long claws that click-clack. I find them really adorable. Surprise. Apparently every beast tribe, I'm like, they're so cute. But I really have a soft spot for kobolds, I think.
These are our native peoples to Vilbrand, at least as far as we know. I'm sure they came here from somewhere else long ago, but this was the native population that our surviving Rogaden
the
came
Mayflower,
in.
yeah.
Yes, and stepped on. So the kobolds attack, and they chase the settlers back onto their wrecked ship. The settlers begin to fortify the area around their ship, and they dig in and build up and carve out these ocean spires here. And this is the future Limsa.
At what cost? But yeah, such is human history. Humanoid history.
And the early days here were very dark. The Limsans could not take advantage of the bounty of the land because the kobolds were there. And instead, they eked out a living as sailors and as pirates. However, their fortunes began to turn with the creation of the military, which was called the Knights of the Barracuda. The land forces of this military, who were called the Yellow Jackets, began to raid the kobolds and take back the mainland for the Limsans.
You said Barracuda wrong. It's Barracuda. No, that's how.
I got you. I got you. Thank you. And part of the land seized by the Yellow Jackets were these rich and dense forests, which they quickly turned into logging camps. And with this fresh supply of wood, they built out their navy. They went from having these, few ships in their navy to having a fresh supply, a fresh influx of new vessels. And with this, they began to actually raid and pirate in full. With the fresh bounty of these ill-gotten gains from merchants passing through the Rotano Sea and mainland Eorzea, the city went from being very poor to being very rich with all these plundered goods. And they swelled their population too because they pressed the survivors of their attacks into service.
Again, yep.
You might recall, Jen, that the plainsfolk Lalafell came here voluntarily. They sailed over here in their own little
baby boats. Their little play school toot-toots, little tykes.
It's a certain ship type, which is like two canoes with a deck spanning between them.
Oh, catamaran?
Yes, thank you. That's the name. Nice lingo, Jen.
You're welcome.
Anyway, they sailed on these catamarans to Limsa and began to trade with the Limsans. And eventually, they actually settled in Limsa, and they are the second biggest population in the city, I believe, after the Rogaden.
They manage the Fisherman's Guild, which is actually a tremendous source of trade and foodstuffs for the Limsan economy, even though the guildmaster is somewhat absent and definitely a dirty old man. Can't get away from these guys.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. It makes me actually curious about when the devs are creating these characters. If they're like, is that too much of a lecherous asshole? Is he being too much of a filthy creep? No, it's fine. Where do they draw the line? Anyway,
as the city's fortunes grew, so did its internal strife. Generations later, the many pirate crews began to squabble amongst one another as they fought over territory and plunder, and this deadly infighting continued for 20 years, give or take. where they would fight each other in Limsa and on the seas over their bounty.
Jeez.
And this was stopped, though, by a pirate known as Agatsar Rose Merslin.
I feel like that's maybe close.
Thank you.
Yeah, Agatsar Merslin.
These are not comfortable spellings.
They are super not. We're out of our depth here. Maybe if we were Norwegian, it would be easier.
This is why the Hellsguard names are easier. I can say Big Rock, no problem.
Morning Dew, Torrid Whisper.
Anyway, Agatsar took over admiralship of the city, and he brought the strongest crews together for a big meeting. And he hammered out a solution to all this infighting that essentially manifested as the Limsan Code of Conduct. No crew will cheat another of its plunder, nor rob a fellow Lominsan, nor sell fellow men into slavery.
No Shanghaiing.
In the city. They can do whatever they want to outside the city.
Right, the sea is a lawless place. What happens on the sea stays on the sea.
So this is a internal code of conduct from the city. This is enforced from the ground up. It's not the admiral and his flunkies saying, do what we tell you. This has buy-in from the very ground up from every Lominsan. So even in back alleys and seedy taverns and all other places of ill repute, the people will, if they see people breaking the code, be like, that's not what we do here. However, to enforce the code, a shadowy organization known as the Upright Thieves was created. This is a shadow group of enforcers that is outside the law but enforces the law being the code.
Is this a vigilante group? This is not condoned or...
This group was created by the admiral as part of this pact that was made, but they are now self-governing. So yes and no. They are officially created. However, they're also enforce their own rules and they take justice into their own hands. So if they deem that a pirate has fallen out of line with the code, they will enact their own version of street justice against them. And this is the rogue questline right here, being part of this group. So we'll learn a lot more about them during the rogue episode.
That's interesting. And I'm struggling actually to find a suitable parallel in our own like law enforcement structure, because it's sanctioned by the government. It was created by the government. Yet it's like extra government?
That's correct. And there's actually friction between them and the Yellow Jackets, who are the police force today.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's already like a... That's interesting. Who watches The Watchmen?
You'd have to go into the depths of the conspiracy theory files to probably find a parallel.
It's just very interesting.
In real life.
Yeah, and I can see how there would be some ill content between the two. Fighting over jurisdiction constantly... It's a detective show.
Well, I'm glad I whet your thirst for the Rogue episode coming up soon.
In more ways than one.
So let's talk about the Limsan leadership now. Every 7 years, there is a ritual conducted to choose a new admiral for the city. And this is a competition known as the Trident. It's a multi-pronged race, the winner of which becomes the admiral for 7 years. I'm sure this race has all sorts of hijinks and like match fixing and sabotage and baked into it as these dishonorable pirates compete for admiralship.
The strongest and the shrewdest survive.
Yes, and the luckiest, all these things. Either way, though, the one that wins and survives all these things is now admiral. Jen, how do you feel about this as a system of government?
I'd say the term seems a little on the long side. But I don't know what the lifespan is of a rogue Aiden. We know Elizans live for quite a long time. So is 7 years reasonable? Is the average lifespan like 150 years?
I'll double check the age when we do our rogue Aiden feature. But this is just one term. There's no term limit or whatever for admirals. You can have the same admiral winning again and again.
Well, I guess then, what you said, it's multi-pronged. What are the prongs? Is there public speaking involved?
It's all a race. So think about like a relay race or whatever, probably.
A literal race?
Yes, it's a literal race, as in they get in their boats and they set like some sort of course for these ships to follow.
This seems inappropriate.
Fair.
There's no test on statesmanship or diplomacy, being able to enact policies or create, viable policies.
What do you say to this being a test of all those things, as the prospective admiral needs to marshal their crew, fix the stakes, and command their crew successfully through this I'm sure, harrowing challenge to come out on top. So we have
there's
diplomacy,
some validity there, yes.
leadership,
combat
skills,
at a very nano
sailing.
scale compared to what it is that they will be doing in the admiralship.
The exact same thing, but on a bigger sail. They will captain the ship of the city.
You said sail instead of scale, and that's pretty great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm with you, honestly, that obviously this is not the best way to pick a leader who is the best for the city.
It's fun.
It's fun. And also, I think this might be the only way that the Limsans would accept a leader, too. They have to impress their fellow pirates of their skill. And I think this probably holds more weight.
This speaks to their value system, I suppose.
Yep.
Until such time as they maybe revamp this whole contest situation. But we got lucky because the admiral that is currently in charge of Limsa is fantastic, in my opinion.
Yes. Said admiral took the position in the year 1563. Her name is Merlvib.
Merlvib? Blursven, I think.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. It's like a BLOESWHYN sort of situation.
You missed a few consonants there.
Of course I did.
Pretty much. Anyway, this is our current leader of the city, and as was hinted at beforehand, after taking power, she declared piracy to be illegal.
I declare piracy to be illegal.
And this, of course, causes an uproar amongst the population, and it's only through shrewd negotiations and, frankly, straight-up violence as well.
Yeah, no, she will slap you down.
She will slap you down with her pistol, and down, I mean, into the grave.
She's got double pistols, doesn't she?
Yes.
And there's a name for them, too?
Death penalty and annihilator.
Oh, that's right. It's like naming your testicles.
That is our history and present day of Limsa.
Yeah, we're all caught up.
So let's begin our journey into the city.
So this is all going to sound very familiar. We awaken.
Right. I guess as a caveat here, first off, the cycle of this quest is very similar to the cycle in Ul'dah and will be also similar to that of Gridania 2.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go into the same detail of everything as we did for Ul'dah because we talked about that already.
Yeah.
We know what an Aetherite is. If you don't, go back to episode number 1 and check out that segment.
Check it out. But yeah, you're a new adventurer. We're on a ship this time, and we're getting there's another merchant dude that looks like the twin brother of the other merchant dude.
We open with the same cutscene as beforehand, with the dark figure we now know to be an Ascian. So you're in the ethereal sea.
That sort of opening. Yeah. So after the character creation, yeah, same shit.
It's worth noting that we can recognize that at the Ascian, he's got the same red mask with the fangs on it as does the one in that flashback to the Battle of Carchno.
Yeah.
So we know that there's a through line from there to the present day because we see this exact same mask in place. So that is a worthwhile connection. Anyway, though, we hear, feel, think. We wake up again and see a merchant, as you were saying, Jen.
Mm-hmm. Tan, leathery skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. His name is Brennan. And he's like, hey, what's up?
This is the brother to Brent from the Chocobo cart in the Ul'dah intro.
I wonder what the third guy's name is going to be. Brenton, whatever. Anyway,
Bradwick.
So that's kind of great. So anyway, we're on a ship, and he's like, hey, let's go up on deck, get some fresh air.
We get a cameo again from these two Ellison twins. It looks like they're seasick a little bit because they're awake, but they're also not very happy looking.
But on the cart, they simply looked like they were ignoring everybody. But on the ship, it legitimately looked like they were asleep.
Brennan spends less time bagging on them than Brend did in the Ul'dah intro.
I think it's because the ship is huge. And before, you're on a tiny little cart. You can't just like have 20 feet of space between you and the next guy where that is plausible deniability for socializing. So we go up on deck. Huzzah. Shortly, we are accosted by 3 big-ass pirate ships. They're shooting cannons at us. And the crew is just, everybody get below decks. Get fucking below decks. So we do. We're waiting there for probably, 30 minutes to an hour. And the dude everybody's very worried, obviously. But guy comes down, probably the first mate or something. And he's like, all right, we're in the clear. This ship is fast as fuck. We're outrunning him. We're beyond cannon range. So we're good to go. Like, okay, great. Crisis averted. A little different, obviously, than the planting of illicit drugs and subsequent accusation of smuggling from the brass blades in Ul'dah. So yeah, We arrive in Limsa Lominsa, and there's a switch over as I kind of really liked this. When you exit the ship, your character is, the scenery is pretty incredible. And there's this, this smile that slowly spreads over your face, like, I'm here the first day of the rest of my life. Then the narrator starts, and he references, he's like, the new adventurer steps on Lenosian soil for the first time, and Limlayan turns her gaze. So Limlayan is actually...
Yeah, it's very weird. I noted that too, because this is the first time I can recall a narrator, as in a presumably objective third party. He gives kind of personality and intent to one of the 12, which just doesn't happen in this game.
No, it felt special to me.
It feels to me like an artifact of an earlier version of the game than the one we know now, because unless it happens in the Limsa questline, I can't see how this Limlayan having her attention on us is going to pay off at all. It's going to drop off after level 15,
right? And
we'll never have that hint pay off for us.
Like a direct kind of metaphysical interaction with one of the 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no indication going forward that any of the 12 are looking upon us or guiding our fate or showing any interest in our fate. When we showed up in Ul'dah, I don't think there was any sort of, Nalbthal tips their cap at the new adventurer. There's nothing like that.
Yep.
So I thought this was very cool. And, despite Limsa Lominsa basically kind of having a little bit more of a, pagan structure, or it's more of a secular vibe, the fact that they made a point to say this in the beginning narration was interesting. I thought it was nice. I liked the flavor. I felt special. So now
you are special, Jen.
Oh, thank you. You're special too.
Thank you, Jen. Your tone of voice says otherwise.
You're so special.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so now we're in Limsa Lominsa and we can begin our career.
We start off in an instance version of the city, like in Ul'dah, and this is right in the Aetheryte Plaza. And if you've played the game beforehand, you know that Limsa is ground zero for players hanging out.
This is where all of your AFKers and ERPers and C and B sceners all hang out.
Exactly. This place is full of player characters
shenanigans
all the time. But right now there is no one here besides a couple NPCs.
There's at least 4 competing bards plinking away in their MIDI sound tones at some awful unrecognizable rendition of Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins or something. It's quite a spectacle. So to walk through this plaza with no other PCs around is spooky. Would you not agree?
I do agree.
Okay.
I just made the point. Wouldn't you agree, Jen?
I agree. Do you agree? Do you concur?
I concur.
I concur. We concur.
I should have concurred. Gotcha. Anyway, we get accosted by a yellow jacket immediately.
Accosted?
Yeah.
I didn't find him to be very accosting.
He trash talks us.
What does he say?
At first, he's like, "Look at you, fresh off the boat, little wharf rat."
What? I don't remember that. Or at least if he did say that, I did not take offense. So
I took offense.
You fucking called it. I am fresh off the boat.
It's the tone. It's the intent to belittle you and put him in the superior position.
I suppose, but I mean, it's not a lie.
It's not a lie,
like,
but
we're
you can
fresh.
be nice.
Please help me. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. Help me, man. And that's what he's doing. What a nice guy.
Oh my God. I do not think the Yellow Jackets are nice guys, though you might recognize their name from Limsa's history, where they were the land forces. They are now just like the police in Limsa and Lanosia. They are separate now from the actual military.
Yes.
And these guys all have their little pot helms on and their open-chested yellow shirts.
It's definitely a piratey blouse. Yes.
They're not as bad as the Brass Blades, but they're also not great, as we'll see in just a minute. Anyway, this guy tells us to go and check in at the Drowning Wench, which is where the Adventurers Guild in Limsa is located. So we do so. We're still in this solo instance, and we head into this big spire here, into the Bulwark Hall. It's got a vast natural stone ceiling and arches of cut stone leading into it from all four directions. and this big lift leading up and down it made of wood and metal.
Yep, there are I think a couple of lifts, but it's essentially like the big crossroads in Limsa.
And there are banners all over that are hanging down from above with this obsidian ship on the Crimson Field. So we head up the lift and head to the Drowning Wench.
And the proprietor of the Drowning Wench and the guild master of the Adventurers Guild is a man named Baderon Tenfingers.
Just to set our scene here, the Wench, I think one critique for Limsa is that the spaces are not very distinct internally. Like almost every space you can access is open air, as in like there are just big openings going from the side, and they have like these natural stone ceilings, and they all have some combination of like wood floor or cut stone floor. Not much to differentiate it internally visually.
I mean, honestly, the footprint looks exactly the same as the quicksand in Ul'dah. It's like a rotunda. Where you have the innkeeper and then the guildmasters or the proprietors area, and it kind of goes around. There's a seating area. There's the leave meat guy. It's very similar.
Yep. So we meet Baderon.
Baderon Tenfingers, which is kind of a, hey, like, fuck you to all you other people who have lost fingers. I still have mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy looks like he's straight up, he could be a member of any new metal band from the late 90s. Maybe the lead singer of Static X. That's what he looks like.
He's a bit of a softcore pirate. He's got his exposed chest and his shirt, but his beard though is very modern.
Chin strap. It's a chin strap.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
He's got his bandana on too. He looks kind of the part, but he's also distinct a little bit.
He looks friendly though. Total chum.
He's good dad to everyone.
Yeah. Baderon daddy.
Oh my god.
Beatty daddy.
No.
Because it's mommy Momodi. Momodi mommy. Baderon daddy.
We don't have to make
We're doing it. I don't know what I'm going to do in Gridania, but this is the convention now. Moving on. So as we're speaking with Baderon, he's like, welcome. He speaks like Eliza Doolittle. He drops all of his H's. What's the sentence? It's the most hospitable of hostelries.
That's it.
All right, there we go.
Nailed it.
It's kind of hard to read with so many apostrophes.
That's true of most Limsan speech. Yeah. It's kind of a chore to
it's out of control. It's hard
flavorful.
Work.
Yeah.
But I appreciate, this is just another level of immersion. Obviously, we're talking about pirates here. But he warns us about, some of the things in Limsa Lominsa and the neighboring areas. We got the kobolds, we got the fishbacks, we got pirates.
Last point on Baderon is he is a former sellsword who retired.
Living out his days, setting up youngins like us.
It's the archetypal adventurer's dream where you buy a tavern and
you
run
hang
it.
up your sword and you go open up a tavern, which is kind of like how I wanted my character arc to be in our last Torchbearer campaign. I don't want to adventure anymore. I just want to brew beer. It did not work out. So, like Momodi did, he talks a little bit about the calamity and how the community is trying to rally with the loss of their memories, cloudy recollections about again this band of heroes that nobody can remember their names, nobody can remember their faces. How convenient. But he's glad for the spate of new adventurers. That's why he loves what he does. So he can create a new band of heroes that will carry Limsa and Eorzea as a whole into the future with hope and confidence. So nice guy.
And as we finish signing our name on the Adventurers Guild registry, a gang of Yellow Jackets storms in, and they're trying to pin the blame for the pirate attack on us.
It's a fucking stretch.
We went up from below decks to above decks a little bit before the pirates attack, therefore we were signaling them.
We were signaling them, yes. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Honestly, I'm mad at my character for not giving them what for in this moment, because that's fucking stupid.
I don't think that would be a good call. You don't want to.
No,
pick
it wouldn't.
Fight.
If this were, again, like a Torchbearer campaign, my character would have mouthed off and there would have been consequences. But fortunately, Baderon has our back here. He's like, this is my grandma's sister's, niece's, cousin's close personal friend. I tried to do the math on what that would end up being. I think it's like a second cousin, third removed, or something like that. I don't know. And
this works, though. They're like, oh, okay, so if Baderon says that you're related, I think, then you're
like,
legit.
Yeah, sorry about that, but
watch out for this kidnapper.
We've got just a spate of kidnappings going around town, and we're basically looking for any sort of scapegoat is what they're not saying. But yeah, we were just a convenient, stranger to town, and they could trump up some charges.
Yes. And then Betaron gives them a round of free grog to get them off our backs and just to go their own way.
He knows how to play the game.
He does.
Yeah.
Next up, we get the same exact tutorial as Ul'dah. We're going to go and attune to the main Aetheryte. We're going to get the lowdown on the market, and we're going to go see our class quest guildmaster.
Yep, so either Arcanist or Marauder.
Yes, and we're both playing Marauders here. So we're going to go over to the Marauders Guild, which is also the Yellow Jacket HQ.
That explains why there's like 3 receptionists in there. I do want to say, though, the receptionist for the Marauders Guild, she sits in such a way that, like, it pisses me off. It's such an annoying way to sit. She's like crouching in her chair, but also like kind of leaning over and sideways, and she's got to like crook her neck up. So she's crouched down. She's a rogue Aiden, crouching herself down and keening her neck. It's like, this is not a professional way to sit at a desk if you're the receptionist for the guild.
She's a goddamn pirate. She does what she wants.
Well, that's kind of it. Like if you were at the tavern and trying to like look menacing, or like you just got off of a pirating mission, I don't know what the fuck they would call it, then yes, that posture would be a correct. Like she's nursing her ale, but she sits like this the whole time she's talking to you, and it's really frustrating.
That's a power move. She's flexing on you.
I guess. I don't know. I'm like, that can't be comfortable. You're sitting this way 8 hours a day.
It worked. Got you riled up.
Fell for it.
Receptionist 1, Jin nothing.
So stupid.
Quick compare and contrast here from the Ul'dah segment. We go attuned to the Aetheryte, which we just saw in that main plaza. Now we're out of the instance, so it's full of people. I'm sure it's wild for a new player to walk up there and see these like half-dressed Vieras doing their dancey dance.
The bee's
and so
knees.
On. Everyone loves that bee's knees.
They really do.
This is where you go to server travel if you want to go and like check prices on other servers or whatever, because the market is right next to the main Aetheryte. So you can pop into the other server's Limsa and then go up the market alley, check the market board or whatever. So when I do this, if I'm trying to make a big purchase and trying to find a better price, every server has their own people doing gimmicks. People will make alt characters and dress them the same way and pose them the same way and just have these different scenes that you encounter upon appearance. So sometimes you'll go and see like a row of Sebulgar wearing Rogue Aiden just doing nothing but like with hands on hips guarding the entrance to the market alley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the glams these people have they're so fun. Yesterday I saw 2 people at the marketplace in Limsa. They were basically dressed like Wonder Woman, and they had their glowing weapons and stuff, and they were just parked there looking like Wonder Woman.
Yep.
I was like, that's fun.
It is. People just have these personal conversations in say chat. It blows my mind that they want to do this in public.
Kids these days.
That's what you said in the lift like 20 times last night.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Well, you didn't say anything, so I had to carry the conversation.
After a certain point, it felt awkward to say something. I feel like I'm intruding. This guy's trash talking people who don't talk. Is like, oh, great, now it's me.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. This guy's like, some people just don't know how to have a conversation these days. And I'm sitting there, it's like, what the fuck?
Dude, I'm right here.
Yes.
Holy shit.
After a certain point, it felt like I would be intruding to say something. Because you two have your little banter going on.
I guess.
Naked in plain sight there. Anyway. Anyway, so we attuned to the Aetheryte in the Limsa Plaza, and this time a guard comes up to us like in Ul'dah. Unlike, though, in Ul'dah, where we get the brass blade treatment of, hey, it's going to be like 10,000 gil or 100,000, whatever it was.
It was 100,000.
To pay for the Aetheryte fee. This guy just comes up and mansplains Aetherites to us. Just walks up. This is an Aetherite. You use it to teleport around. It's a good time. You should do it. It's smart. Thanks, guy.
All right.
Thanks for
Sounds good.
No personality, all just talking at you.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Makes you appreciate the little joke in the Ul'dah.
It does.
The little more like a prank, yeah.
Yep. And then we go to Hawker's Alley just down the street, which is this kind of like it's a bridge between 2 towers that's all covered and just lined with market stalls. And we talk to Svozblate and give him his octant, which he left at the Drowning Wench. And then he gives us a little run through. Here's all the market stalls, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. That's the story. pretty
Everybody
much.
here that we have to talk to just to familiarize ourselves with the city, they're so much more generous with their time and their advice than the people in Ul'dah who make it very clear that you're not paying me, so I'm going to keep this as short as fucking possible.
It's less rude, but at the same time, I don't feel like I felt character in this interaction. It's more,
yeah, I think that's more I guess the trade-off.
Yep.
Yeah.
It could have been something to sell the Limsa flavor more, I think would be the way to do it.
What they needed is more apostrophes in their dialogue.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we wrap our errands up. We talk to our guildmaster and get our first class quest, and then we go back to see Baderon.
That's basically it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Done deal.
And he gives us our first real job. You go see my bud at the Summerford Farms. This is a farm outside the city that employs former pirates. And it seems like they're shorthanded. So we're going to go head out there and meet with Stalewern, the owner, and see what the deal is.
Is there a W in that?
Oh, excuse me, Stalevern.
God, why did it have to be so hard? Anyway, yeah, that's the end of that.
Just our American unacculturation going on here.
Yeah, we're simple folk.
This is based off a real language, but
yes.
We're not briefed in it, so
it is non-dramatic, and so it's fucking with our little heads. But yeah, so that's where we're gonna end that, and we'll pick up that outside Limsa activity in a couple weeks.
And next time we'll be talking about the Arcanist class.
Woo! Fun class. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of Pod Return to the Waking Sands. Thanks for listening. And if you want to drop us a line or tweet at us, you can do so at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com or on Twitter at podreturn. And we'll see you next time.